There is a particular kind of person who never seems surprised, not because they are lucky, not because they lack imagination for what could go wrong, but because by the time something happens, they already decided 3 moves ago how they would respond to it. You've encountered them. They move differently, speak differently. They don't react, they arrive. And watching them, there's a feeling you can't quite name, something between admiration and unease. You're not sure if you're watching confidence, or something colder than that. What does it actually mean to think 3 moves ahead? Most people assume it means planning, anticipating outcomes, running scenarios in your mind before you speak or act. Suppose. But Machiavelli's framework goes further than tactics. He was describing a way of seeing, a mode of perception that most people never develop because it requires something deeply uncomfortable. The willingness to know what the people around you actually want, not what they say they want, not the surface, it's the mechanism underneath. The first move is always the same. Before you act, before you speak, before you position yourself anywhere, you identify the desire, not the stated goal, the real one. Machiavelli was precise about this. People are driven by 2 things above everything else: the fear of loss and the hunger for status. Everything else, every reason given, every explanation offered, every justification presented, is architecture built on top of one of those 2 foundations. The person who can read which one is operating in any given moment holds a level of clarity that most people will mistake for intuition. It isn't. It's observation, applied without sentiment. The second move is to identify what the other person cannot do. Not what they won't do, what they can't. Every person, every situation, every power structure has a constraint built into it. A limit they cannot cross without losing something more important to them than the gain. When you find that constraint, you find the real boundary of their power. And you discover that most people who appear formidable are not formidable everywhere. They are formidable in the 1 or 2 directions where nothing blocks them. Everywhere else, they are as bounded as anyone. The art is locating the boundary before they need to reveal it themselves. The third move is where most people fail, because it asks something most people resist. It asks you to think past your own desired outcome. Not just what do I want here, but what will they do when they don't get it? What move does their character compel them toward when the situation doesn't go their way? Machiavelli studied this obsessively. He understood that people are far more predictable in their reactions than in their intentions. Intentions shift, character repeats. And if you have mapped someone's character accurately, you can stand at the end of a conversation and already know how it ends, not because you manipulated it, but because you understood it before it began. People reach for the chess metaphor when they talk about this, about strategy, about thinking ahead. But chess is the wrong image. Chess pieces move in fixed patterns. People don't. What Machiavelli was describing is closer to a different kind of board. It's one where the rules shift depending on who has more to lose at any given moment. It's where the most powerful move is sometimes no move at all. Where the person who appears to be losing is often the person who understood the game from a different angle than everyone else in the room. The Grand Master of that board doesn't win by knowing every possible move. May win by knowing which moves the other person will always make under pressure. Here's the part that goes unspoken in most conversations about strategic thinking. To stay 3 moves ahead, you have to manage your own emotional state with almost surgical discipline, not because emotion is weakness. Machiavelli was not that naive, but because emotional reactivity collapses your field of vision. The moment you need something to go a specific way, you stop seeing clearly. You see what you want to be true rather than what is true. Every strategic error he documented in princes, in republics, in military commanders, traced back to the same source. Someone who needed a particular outcome so badly, they stopped seeing the signals that it wasn't coming. They stopped being 3 moves ahead. They became 1 move behind. The 3-move framework is also, at its core, an information framework. The person who knows more than they reveal, who asks more than they answer, who listens with intention while others fill silence with disclosure, that person accumulates an asymmetry. Over time, they hold a picture of the situation that no one else has access to, not because they deceived anyone, it's because they understood that information is architecture. And every conversation is an opportunity either to build your structure or to hand materials to someone else to build theirs. Machiavelli was categorical about this. The advisor who speaks everything they know the moment they know it is not an advisor. They are a resource being harvested. What makes staying 3 moves ahead genuinely difficult is not the analysis. It is the patience. It's the ability to hold a position, withhold a move, allow a situation to develop past the point where most people would have intervened. Machiavelli described this as one of the rarest capacities in human behavior, not courage, it's not intelligence, but the tolerance for strategic discomfort. It's the ability to watch something unfold and not flinch toward premature resolution. Every negotiator who has ever won a room, every person who has ever emerged from a power conflict with their position intact, has this in common. They outlasted the other person's discomfort with uncertainty. They did not move first, they moved right. There is a shadow side to this that Machiavelli never romanticized. The person who operates perpetually 3 moves ahead is not always easy to be close to. Something in that mode of perception, that constant mapping of desire and constraint, that relentless pattern recognition can calcify. The world becomes a board, people become variables, and the same intelligence that keeps you protected can, if left entirely undisciplined, begin to hollow out the parts of experience that aren't strategic. What he was describing was a capacity, not an identity. A mode to enter and exit. The person who lives there permanently has not mastered the game, they have become it. If you found yourself in a situation where you felt outmaneuvered, where something happened and you realized, too late, that it had been arranged long before you understood the arrangement, you already know what it feels like to be on the other side of this. That particular kind of clarity that arrives after the fact. The recognition that someone saw further into the situation than you did. That they knew how it would end before you realized it had begun. That feeling is instructive, not because it should make you paranoid, but because it tells you something true about the world. That the people operating at a different level of perception are already in your environment, They are already reading, The question Machiavelli is asking you is whether you are reading back. 3 moves ahead is not a destination, it is a practice. It is the daily discipline of asking before you speak, before you act, before you commit to any position. What does this person actually want? What are they actually constrained by? And what will they do when the situation doesn't go their way? 3 questions, applied consistently, not as manipulation, as clarity. The world does not change, but what you see in it does. And once you begin to see the desire beneath the language, the constraint beneath the confidence, the pattern beneath the reaction, you stop being surprised, not because you control outcomes, but because you understood them before they arrived.